What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into another edition of NBA Now from Chat Sports. And with you today, I'm your host, Jimmy Crowther. And today we're breaking down the top 5 potential lineups for the Dallas Mavericks. But before I get into my top 5, I want to start out with a question for you guys. What is your ideal starting 5 in Dallas for next season? Let me know in the comment section, point guard through center. Give it to me down there in the comment section. I'll take a look and let you know what I think of your ideas. But I've got mine. This is what I predict to be the starting 5 when the 2019-2020 season opens up for the Dallas Mavs. And it starts with their newly acquired point guard, Delon Wright. He's running the point alongside Luka Doncic. Justin Jackson in there at the forward position. I know that might surprise a few of you, but I'll get to why I have him in there in just a second. Kristaps Porzingis, of course, is your all-star power forward starting there next to a rim-rolling lob threat in Dwight Powell. Let's take a look at that point guard position because new guy, Delon Wright, he's expected to come in and start right away for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Rick Carlisle kind of explained the starting 5 in Dallas as a, quote, fluid situation, which just means it could change based on matchups or based on the night. But for the most part, I think Delon Wright needs to be the regular starter for the Mavs because his defensive potential is perfect next to Luka Doncic, who we all know isn't a great defender by any means. Now, he's not a great three-point shooter, but he's really good at finishing around the rim. And like I said, defending in the perimeter. Now, of course, they acquired Delon Wright in a sign and trade to Memphis, and really all they had to give up was 2 second-round picks, and one of those picks probably isn't ever actually going to convey. But the other guy I have in the starting 5 that might shock a few of you, Justin Jackson. Now, of course, the Mavs got him in a trade where that sent Harrison Barnes out to the Sacramento Kings, which was basically just a salary dump for the Mavs, but they did get back Justin Jackson, who they actually really like. He performed pretty well for them after the All-Star break. He was a good shooter and a really good perimeter defender. Again, with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis in that starting 5, you have to have really good perimeter defense. That's what Justin Jackson brings you alongside Delon Wright, and he's becoming a better and better three-point shooter. This is what I expect to start on day 1, and it's my ideal starting 5. And, of course, this whole starting 5 is built around 2 guys. It's Luka Doncic and it's Kristaps Porzingis. Both of them borderline all-stars next year. But who is going to average more points per game next season for the Dallas Mavericks? Type KP if you think it's going to be Kristaps Porzingis. I want you to type LD if you think it's going to be Luka Doncic. I'm going to take Kristaps Porzingis personally. I just think with Luka having the ball in his hands, he's going to be dishing out the assists, and that's going to let Kristaps Porzingis score the ball more. Now again, points per game doesn't mean the better player. It's just who's going to put up the bigger numbers in the scoring column. Now let's move on to my next lineup, number 2. This is what I predict to be the crunch time lineup for the Dallas Mavericks. Not a lot of changes, but instead you see Luka Doncic slip in as the small forward in this one, and Seth Curry is in there as the 2 guard alongside Delon Wright. I actually really like this lineup, and I think when it comes down to it, when the Mavs need to score in the final 2 minutes of a close game, this is probably what you're going to see out there more often, and a lot of that is because of Seth Curry. Now, I don't predict he starts right away, but I think when it comes down to it, he's going to be in there when it matters. They, of course, re-signed Seth Curry this past offseason, which had a breakout year a couple years ago in Dallas. He got hurt, had to miss an entire season. The Mavs let him walk on some really weird circumstances. He went to Portland, played a great role for them there, and then re-up now with the Dallas Mavericks. And the number one reason he's so important to this team, or is going to be this next season, is that three-point percentage. He shot 45% from deep, which was in the top 3 among three-point shooters this past season in the NBA. And not only is he just a shooter, he's a playmaker as well. If you give him the ball, he can score. So here's what Dallas wants to see is you have Luka Doncic. He has the ball in his hands most of the time. He makes the plays. He finds a wide-open Seth Curry in the corner in crunch time. People are paying too much attention to Luka. They're paying attention to Porzingis. They don't realize a top 3 three-point shooter is over there on the wing in Seth Curry. I think he has to be in there in the crunch time lineup. And for what he lacks on defense, Delon Wright makes up for it in the backcourt. But do you think he should start next season? I don't personally. I think he fits better as that 6-man type role and then actually gets more minutes. He gets starter minutes. He just doesn't start right away. So I'm going to say no, but I want to know what you guys think because, of course, here at Chat Sports, we are the most interactive channel when it comes to NBA, NFL, literally anything you want. We want to hear from you guys. So let me know, should Seth Curry start for the Dallas Mavericks next year? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Now, I got another lineup, and this one I kind of switched some things around here. This one we got Jalen Brunson, who will, of course, be a second-year point guard. This next season was a second-round steal. Luka Doncic, again, in the backcourt. Now, instead here at the forward position, I've got Dorian Finney-Smith and then Kristaps Porzingis. And the starting center in this scenario is Maxi Kleber. And I call this lineup the balanced attack because Luka and Porzingis and Brunson are all really good offensive players. I'd say Luka and Porzingis are elite offensive players. Brunson, pretty good. Kleber and Finney-Smith, really, really good defensive players. And Brunson is a smart defensive point guard. He's not great because he's a little bit limited on his size, but he is good. So you get a balance of defense and offense here, especially the rim protection of Maxi Kleber and Kristaps Porzingis. If you see those two in the paint, not going to be a lot of people trying to penetrate the defense and get down there with them. But the number one guy here, Jalen Brunson, that's the biggest change in this lineup. You have him running the starting point guard position. Again, he turned out to be a second-round steal for the Mavs. After the All-Star break, he looked like one of the better point guard rookies. He averaged 14.5 points per game and 4.6 assists. Again, those numbers are post-All-Star break. But the reason I don't have him as a starter in the regular lineup is because, in all honesty, he works better with the freedom to run a second unit. When he has the freedom to have the ball in his hands more, it works better for a second unit point guard running that off the bench lineup. But hey, if he's a starting point guard at some point in the NBA with the Dallas Mavericks, it will not shock me because he put up really good numbers and he moves the ball really, really well. But in this case, Luka is going to have the ball in his hands more. Now that starting center position, that's going to be a big question mark for Dallas. Is it going to be Dwight Powell more often, or is Maxi Kleber going to eventually slide in there? They, of course, re-signed him. He was a restricted free agent this past season. They both do two very different things. Maxi Kleber is a rim protector, and he's kind of a stretch 4, stretch 5 sort of guy. Dwight Powell, on the other hand, is a lob threat, and he's not much of a rim protector, but he's a good low post defender. But which one do you think needs to be starting next to Porzingis next year? Type MK for Maxi Kleber. I want you to type DP if you think it needs to be Dwight Powell. I'm going to go with Dwight Powell because I want to see a rim-rolling alley-oop threat next to Porzingis, and I think it just makes a lot of sense, especially when you have the rim protection already there in Kristaps Porzingis. Now let's move on to lineup number 4. This one I've got the Twin Towers, Boban Marjanovic and Kristaps Porzingis. I think this is the duo that everybody wants to see on the court at some point next season. I just don't know how realistic it actually is, especially when it comes to starting. Now, maybe at some point, Rick Carlisle just says, hey, why not, and throws them both out there, but I don't think it's all that likely. In the backcourt on this one, I've got Jalen Brunson and Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, Tim Hardaway put up 18.1 points per game last season, but I will be the first to admit that number is extremely inflated because he was playing most of the season on a bad Knicks team, and he was putting up a ton of shots. I think he's better suited in a six-man type role for the Mavs. Now, you can't just bury him on the bench because he's got a pretty big contract, but at 18.1 points per game, he's going to put up some numbers off the bench. I just think he's better suited in that role personally. But now I got a fun question for you. Who would win in a fight? You think it'd be Boban Marjanovic or Taco Fall? Put it in the comments section. I know we usually can't say Taco here on this channel, but I'm going to allow it because it's just me today. Type Boban or type Taco down in the comment section. Who would win a fight? 7-7, very slow, or 7-3, not quite as slow, but still pretty slow in Boban Marjanovic. Put it down in the comment section. Now on to this last lineup. This is an interesting one that I wanted to throw out there. This could sort of be Dallas's small ball lineup because you run Seth Curry at the point guard position. He's a little bit smaller than Delon Wright and not nearly as good of a defender. Luka Doncic, look, he's not a small two guard by any means, but he is smaller. And then Justin Jackson, Kristaps Porzingis, and Dorian Finney-Smith. So no real true center here. You got Porzingis, who's 7'3". I would hardly call that small. But when the Mavs are looking to get out and run, I think this is a lineup you could see playing a lot together. Seth Curry, the knockdown, lights-out three-point shooter. It just makes a lot of sense, and he can run the point guard position. Now, look, you call him a point guard, but Luka Doncic is going to be the guy with the ball in his hands most of the time, if not all of the time when he's on the floor. And then, of course, you let Luka run out there. Justin Jackson in the open court has shown real promise. He's great in transition. I actually like him on the fast break quite a bit. Dorian Finney-Smith is an athletic forward, but you don't always know what you're going to get out of the guy. That's why I don't have him starting most nights for the Dallas Mavericks. And then, of course, you get Porzingis in there as the center, and you don't really want him banging with the bigger guys like the Joel Embiids of the world. But when it comes to playing big man, he's 7'3", so he is more than capable of doing just that. Now, last question here for you guys today. What seed will the Dallas Mavericks be this next season? Look, they got better this offseason. They didn't get as good as they wanted to be, but they got better. If you're asking me, I'm predicting a 7 to 8 seed for the Dallas Mavericks in 2019-20, but I want to know from you guys. Let me know in the comment section.